right? From that point, you choose the project that you want to work on. You rank all projects in the program. So for example, there's 30 projects. You give them all a number from 1 to 30. Number 1 is the project you want to work on the most. Number 30 is the one you want to work on the least. Make sense? Any questions? Now here's the fun part. As I'm sure many of you, at least in our programs, have taken Excel 1002. Excel 1002, for those of you who don't know, is a group course. Everybody does projects together. Everybody hates it. Everybody complains the most of any other course because people don't like to work together. It's true. Now, if you were the smart person and end up doing all the work, you get upset about everybody else. If you're not, then somebody else does all the work for you. It's not good. So in this program, all projects usually have 2 people in the project, 1 or 2 people, depending on the project. You can work on the project by yourself. You can work on it with 2 people. Now, in this voting process, you pick who you want to work with, and they pick who they want to work with, and they put in their ranking. So let me give you an example. Daniel wants to work with Vin. Vin wants to work with Daniel. So right away, because they're pairing matches, they have the highest score. Vin and Daniel's selections, they say project number 1, they give it a 10. Project number 2 is a 5, and project number 3 is a 1. That's the one that they want the most. So we look at all pairings for everybody else. We look at their preferences, both of their preferences for ranking, and we say, look, they both want to work with each other, and they want project number 3. They're obviously the most interested in that particular project. They end up working on it together. Our goal is to give you the highest possible ranking match between projects and people that you're working with. I'll give you another suggestion, another sample. Maria wants to work with Martin. Martin hates Maria. Martin wants to work with Daniel. Daniel wants to work with Vin. So Maria says, I want to work with Martin. Martin says, I want to work with Daniel. Maria ends up getting her 15th preference. Martin ends up getting his 30th preference. Make sense? In another scenario, Maria wants to work with Martin. Martin wants to work with Maria, but they don't actually have a conversation and pick the rankings of which they want to choose. So Martin's first project is Maria's 30th project, and they both end up with number 15. Make sense? So I think the key takeaway here is communication. You're deciding who you want to work with. You're deciding what you want to work on. And ideally, everybody should be on the same page. We actually go and analyze all the data to see that you're getting the top preference that you want. If you didn't talk to the person that you're trying to work with, you're probably going to end up on a project you don't want to do. Jason, what do you say?
Yeah, so just 2 things that I wanted to add about the project selection here, and probably more so especially for the students that are in the analytics programs, because there's common courses, is that if you're a health analytics student, you don't have to pick a project only in health. If you're a crime, you don't have to pick a project that's only in crime. Same with business, right? So basically the main thing, and Sydney kind of talked about this a little bit, is pick the project that you're most interested in. You're going to be working on this extensively for 7 weeks. You want to pick the project that aligns best with either your area of expertise, your area of interest, whether it's what you're going to be doing as a product or whether it's what you're going to be studying as an organization or an overall piece. So don't feel like you have to pick only within your field or domain. Obviously, you might align with that, and that's pretty natural, but go based on the project and go based on your interests. And I believe as well, you also can group up with students that are in different programs, right? So you don't have to pair up with only a health analytics student or only business analytics students. You can also have a little bit of agency in terms of working with students in all of the streams of the multiple programs that are involved in this.
And we have a few good comments in the chat. For example, ask your partner about the skills that they bring to the project. Ask your partner their real availability and can they actually work on the project with you, or will you be doing the entire project yourself? And make sure that everybody's schedules align. You're on the same page. You're both invested in working on the project. Now, I know that Daniel's the smartest person in the class. Maybe he's the person I want to work with. Maybe 20 people want to work with Daniel, right? Daniel probably should decide who he wants to work with, so that's clear, so you don't get a whole bunch of people getting bad results because they didn't talk to each other. So I'm going to triple underline it. The most important thing, talk to each other. Make sure that your preferences align, your projects align, because basically we're looking at the combination of who you want to work with, who they want to work with, and your preferences for projects. Now, in addition to who you're working with and the project, we also have students from 2 other programs who are going to work with us on projects as well. So you're able to choose anybody from the programs, and you're able to choose any any project in different configurations. So we're going to talk about that, how we put those together. Basically, we're going to go through a voting period next month. At the end of the voting period, we're going to send everybody the final project assignments, who's working on which project, who they're working with. At that point, you have a kickoff meeting with the client, and then we get going from there. So let's move forward, and we're going to talk about some of the other details about how it all works together and what exactly you do in the project. So in the project, you are in charge, which means you get the project. The project is a real project with an actual client that has a problem and they need help to fix it, which means that you're in charge. So, for example, Jason and I do not go to project meetings. We don't do the work for you. That is your job. Your job actually boils down to one really simple thing: make the client happy. From our perspective, the only metric we care about is the client happy? So, if you do a good job and you do the work and you make the client happy, everything works out fantastic. And that can be really, really challenging sometimes when the client has no idea what they want, or they change their mind, or something else. And the best way to do it: communication, meet with the client, find out what they want, try to reorient the project, maybe work on some stretch goals, be really clear about what you're doing, and go from there. Now, when we do the project when we do the program, there's also a weekly class. The class is a 3-hour class every week. There's a check-in where we talk about what we're accomplishing, what we're doing, as well as some additional things. So every week we work on a little technical piece as well that's shared in common between different groups. We could find ways to help each other. Unlike in your other courses, different groups can help each other. For example, I know Maria is amazing at doing charts. She can do these like amazing Excel lollipop charts. It's fantastic. I should get her to help me with my client. It's a win-win for everybody, right? Why not? I know Daniel's an expert at Twitter and Python. He should help the 4 other people who are doing projects in that same place too. So by combining skills that we have in the class, we could work between projects to make them work. And then we're going to talk about the different pieces. So basically, the first preference is the ranking. We're going to talk about how many people can be in each project, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so any questions about anything I said so far before we move on?
And I just wanted to say what I put in the chat there. So to all of my MapD students, think of this as a really, really big opportunity to create connections with other people, because I know you don't know everyone here. A lot of the students that are in the analytics programs have met each other already, and you may not have met them before, but this is your opportunity to ask questions, understand this, because I know you asked me a lot of questions in our class, so you need to be asking those questions here.
Our students in the past, Jason and I have run over 140 capstone projects, and we've had super success, like 99% plus success, which means that students are getting jobs in industry, they're making connections, they're working on real projects for real people that actually lead to jobs. And we've seen that over and over and over again. So it's really, really important to do a fantastic job and to make the client happy. Now, the job that we're going to talk about, the project that we're going to show you, is the project scope, the wish list of what you want to do. It is not the project. The project you have to negotiate with the client, and the scope can change, and things happen, and there could be stretch goals, or maybe it's just planning, or maybe it's something else, and that's okay. Your goal is to work through the project, make everybody happy, and we're going to do that in project teams. We have a question from Narinder. Can you work on a project alone? Yes. Thuck says, can MapD students work with analytics students? Yes. Anybody can work on any project. Wani, what do you say?
Oh, I do have a question. If
Sure.
the list of the 30th whatever company, if I find those projects are too overwhelming for me and I cannot pick any of them, can I have a like an individual like projects with the professor if Lincoln College have some kind of, you know,
Are you in analytics?
No, the mobile application development.
That would be a question for Nathan, but if you're in analytics, you are forced to do a project, so you don't have a choice.
Okay.
So from our perspective, you do have a choice, but I'm just going to point out that you, as well as many of the other students that are here, I would say that we have a very good group. I think you're all very capable. So I don't think it's going to be a problem that you're not going to be capable of working on one of the projects. But it is your choice.
Maybe I should explain why you're here. That could be a good idea. So our students are amazing. Just look at Martin. I'm telling you, this guy's amazing. And Martin is an expert at manipulating data, moving things around. He's in my Python class, and every example is about him. So he must be doing a really, really good job. Now, Martin knows a lot about data manipulation, APIs, moving data between databases, using it in Python, doing stuff in R, doing fancy things in Excel. He has no idea about front-end development. That's where you come in. So for example, if the client wants to make a web app, or they want to take graphs and put it somewhere, they want to build something in Django or Flask, or they want to put together an app or a native app or something else, you're the person to do that, right? So I think for a lot of the projects, it's leveraging the skills that the students have from different programs and putting it together. Quite a few of the projects that we work on are speculative, which means that we're not 100% sure what the project is, and your job is to sit down with the client and figure it out. That's what students in IT business analysis do. That's their whole job. That's the perfect project for them to work on because they could help the other students by leveraging their skills. So the reason why you're here is because we want to bring your additional skill sets that our students don't have and try to come and bring better products for the clients as a result. So your contribution is really appreciated, and you're definitely bringing something to the table that the students in the analytics programs don't have. And that's really important. So yeah. Okay, so let's continue. So for this semester, so for May, June, if you're in second semester right now and you're doing your capstone in May, June, the project is 7 weeks long. During that 7 weeks, we have a weekly meeting that's 3 hours long. During that time, every day of the project, you keep a log and you write down how many hours you work. What are you doing during that time? You're supposed to be working 35 hours a week. You can meet with the client. You can go to the 3 hour a week class. You can work on the project. You can also do professional development. For example, you could take courses on DataCamp. So Vin is an expert in many things, but he doesn't know about building fancy graphs in Dash. There's a course on that. You can take that course and count it towards your hours. We want you to use this opportunity for professional development to expand the certifications that you've been getting this year, add them to your LinkedIn, be awesome, right? That's the idea. We have a question from Priyam. The question is, what if we have questions about the task between meetings? You should reach out. It depends what the question is. If it's a technical question, we can help you. That's the whole point. I teach the Capstone course. I'll help you if I can. But ultimately, I can't make decisions about the project because I'm not involved in the project. I have no idea what it is. You need to talk to your client to figure what's going on. And then Ramal says, at this point, how much information on the project? I'm going to give you extensive information. So much information, you cannot even believe that you asked that question. That's right. We have a lot of projects. Ramal is on the right track. Okay. How many people can be on a project? Daniel, it's generally 2 people. That's what we go for. In this case, because we're bringing in students from other programs, maybe 3. But generally speaking, the projects are going to be very small. Right? We expect all of you to be working 35 hours a week each. That means that over the course of the project, you'll be working hundreds of hours, which means we want to see a lot of results. Brett says, I have a question whether we'll have to be on site. No, you do not. You could be at home like you are now. Correct. In fact, the clients are all over the world. So there's companies like everywhere that do all kinds of different projects. Daniel, this meeting is about capstone projects only, not about placements. But we could talk about that if you like to. This information, I assume, is for those in semester 3. No, this is information for those in semester 1 and 2 who will be going into semester 3 at some point. The people who are in semester 3 just finished their projects today. So that semester is over. We're talking about what's happening in the future, and we're talking about combining these 5 programs specifically for May, June this year. If you're in business analytics, we have upcoming capstones in November, December, January, February. And if you're in one of those capstones, we're not sure if we're going to work together. It depends on how this one goes. We're doing a pilot just for these 7 weeks. So Oladapo has a good question. What happens if the project is huge? You work on it for 7 weeks. That's your job. And basically, hopefully, everybody's happy. Narinder, all classes in the program are online right now, as all of your other classes are. In the future, if the college changes that, then they'll be in person. That I have no idea. I would also check with International about IRCC issues. This is more questions than I can answer. 1 second. Sneha says, when does the capstone start? Since our semester 2 is over in April, it is like May 7th. Can we have more than 2 students in the group? Potentially 3, but there are small groups for a reason. Ryan says, if we face issues during a project, for example, in Python Code or Power BI, of course, you should definitely consult me If you email me, I'll email you back right away. That's the whole point. You can email Adi anytime, 24 hours a day. You can email Nathan 24 hours a day. Basically, anybody you want to. Hafiz, I'm not sure, what program are you in? Vishal, not only do you choose your own group members, they choose you, and you choose programs. So Hafiz, that's a good question for Nathan. I'm not 100% sure. In our program, if you're in business analytics, you could choose between Capstone and placement. If you are in crime or health, you have to do a Capstone. It's very important to note the reason why we do this program, why it's set up. First of all, you're working with actual clients. Second of all, this is the lowest risk option if you're interested in actually finishing. We've had students before that did placements that did not go well, and they failed because the person who determines your grade in a placement is your placement supervisor, your boss. In the course, you're actually meeting with us over and over and over again, and our purpose is making sure that your project goes well. That's the whole point of this course and the way we set up the project. We've already screened all the employers as well. So if there's a placement, we recommend against it. It's potentially more risky. Daniel, it's a pilot program that is possible that it might not be continued. We don't know. Right now, the pilot part is combining students from 5 programs. In the future, we will have the analytics programs working together. In your semester, it's only going to be business students, i.e. your classmates, potentially with Nathan's students. So you could identify who you want to work with from your class. I'd recommend Martin, but you can pick anybody you want. He's really smart. And then you can go from there. It's totally up to you. Oladapo says, what happens if the client changes the scope of project during the midway point? Good luck. Talk to the client. Find a way
That's
forward.
reality.
That's how it goes. It's not, they're not tied into the project scope. You're not tied into the project scope. You need to work together to figure it out. Balaji, I hope I'm saying that right, says, hi, do we have to work on projects using technology we learned since we're not getting trained on .NET for web or mobile? Sydney says we might have to work on Django or Flask. Does that mean we might get students to work on other tech stack? Yes. Make it happen. Figure it out. Now, I can program in several languages. It is not a stretch for me to program in certain things. I could do a project in Django very easily. Would it be a huge stretch for me to program in a language that I've never done before? Yes. Is it doable in 7 weeks? No. So it comes down to common sense. Pick projects that you can do. And by the way, it's not like these are random. We have already gone through the tech stack in all of these courses, and we know what is involved. Some of them are no-code apps, which are easy to build without code. Other ones are in something else. Basically, we're looking for you to contribute your expertise in different ways to every project. I assume that everybody in MapD also knows SQL, right?
So for the MapD, so everyone is aware, so the MapD students are familiar with all the HTML stuff, so HTML, CSS, as well as Java, SQL, Swift, so on iOS, as well as .NET and C#.
Perfect. That's exactly, and we work with many of those technologies too. For example, Vin is our resident expert in Flask. And, maybe he could really use help to do database queries and connect what he's doing together to a database, or maybe JavaScript, because he could work on the back end part. They could work on the front end. There's a lot of ways to work together. Now, originally, I wanted to do this program Survivor style, where we just vote people off of the island, but nobody approved that. Lakshmi says, when would the capstone start for January 2022 students? That would be in May, June, right? No, that would be the next one. That would be in September, October. Right, September, October. So usually it's, yes.
Sorry, when do we get to see the list of projects?
We're gonna do it right now. Just people keep on asking me questions.
Okay.
Seriously, yes, I already have your project picked out. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right, so is there any other questions, comments, thoughts about anything? Now, I'm going to send you a zip file that has all the projects that I'm going to show you with extensive documentation for all of them. I'm just going to go through them briefly because we have 35 projects and explain what they are, what technology they involve. Then you can understand what's going on. Of course, if you have any questions, stop me and let me know. Ryan, all the things are unpaid. However, if they unofficially pay you, that's between you and them. But essentially, no, it's not. It's unpaid. That's right. That's Nathan has the correct answer. Disregard what I said.
There's a very small if you were in a placement, there's a small chance that you could be paid, but I would say that the potential for your experience doing something like this far outweighs any amount of money that you would make in a 7-week period.
True. All right, here we go. So here are the projects that we have lined up for the next semester. This is for May, June. So we have a soft skills coaching bot. This is a bot software that's written in Python for Alexa. And this is basically part of their thing. They use React. They want to expand that. So this is their coaching bot. I think this is React Node.js. And they're looking at taking pieces. We worked on the project with them this semester. They're looking at pieces and building up a soft skills coaching bot. It's essentially a chat bot. Same kind of idea. This is Alexa for soft skills. They want to use Alexa so you could ask and they talk to you. This is one that we worked on this semester. It's basically technical infrastructure planning. And in this project, what you're doing is planning a Netflix clone, essentially. So talking with AWS, planning, and looking at this would be a great project for IT business analysis students. Field Turf we worked with for the second time. And in this project, we are building dashboards and we're looking at internal KPIs, key performance indicators, to help them understand what exactly is going on. So we've worked with them before building dashboards. We're going to build more dashboards with them. This is for the Agile Literacy Company. They're interested in teaching Agile like we use in the program, and they want to put together a whole bunch of different templates, processes, strategies, dashboards, and they want to basically figure out what is their project, how to put it together. The next one is working with Penny Tremblay. We've worked with her probably 8 times now. She's working with a CRM. She wants to do cross-selling and upselling promotions. She wants to do clustering. She wants to figure out different pieces that go into the system that they have. It also involves some research and some other pieces. The next one's called Stock Car Fan Nation. This one works with NASCAR, and they're interested in looking at what are the connections between influencers, consumers, and brands. They also want to find out about forecasting. They want to build influencers, and they want to look at social media to figure out who influences NASCAR. So if you like stock car racing and chicken wings, this is the perfect project for you. And it's about looking at their data to try to model it. They have a huge amount of data, very little modeling. The next one is called Fresh Find. Fresh Find is a group that we worked with several times in the past. They're located in Toronto. They're using like AI to leverage farmers markets and find out where is food being grown, how do they connect to the local markets, and how can we make it all work together. They use a lot of GIS, and they have different pieces to put it together. So it's very interesting to combine the GIS layer together with data. This project last time involved web scraping. It also involved building an API and putting all that information into QGIS. The next one is called Binova. We've worked with them probably 5 or 6 times now. They have an AI solution based on GPT-3, where they're taking educational text that's coming from students and performing a whole bunch of different experiments on it. They look at Big 5 personality factoring. They're looking at taking data and putting it through a whole bunch of different APIs. They also use GPT-3 to build like an AI profile of the students and try to help them with the right answers. We have 2 projects for this company called Wall Street Professionals Incorporated. They are building business forecasting as well as building an interactive student dashboard. In this program, they're training people to become traders. So if you're interested in financial world, this is probably the place. Next, we have Excel Exposure. Excel Exposure is the 4th largest Excel training company in the world, and they are looking to take their list of 12,000 emails for the business, and they want to do CRM and data analytics. They want to find out about churn, clustering, and a whole bunch of other factors to see what they could do with their clients, how they can upsell them, try some A/B testing, things like that. If you're interested in marketing, that could be a really great project. The next one is for a company called Academy of Wonder. They want to do a computer science capstone in developing a learning management system. So in this project, it's about setting up their courses, setting up an LMS. My preference is to use Moodle to make that happen because it's open source and easy to use. You probably already know it by this point, but that's completely up to you. There's a lot of different options. Sophie is a company that we worked with many times. They currently have 10 students from business analytics working there, as well as students from IT business analysis, as well as students from other programs. And they're interested in building a client analysis dashboard. So they work in Django, and they're interested in putting together some data from their database in SQL and visualizing it in a dashboard. The next one we have is worldwide services, and they're interested in looking at market segmentation for IT services. So they currently have a whole bunch of different IT customers, and they want to figure out how they cluster together. The next one we have is World Vision. It's a global charity. Right now, when projects are proposed, there's many factors that go into them, and they basically work on paper with an algorithm to figure out what the risk profile of this project is, whether it's worth it to do it, it's risky, or whatever. They want to build that into a dashboard so they could plug in the numbers and it would tell them if this is a good project and give them a risk profile. That's the idea of that project. Everyday Chemist is a makeup design company. They do chemistry and they sell formulas for makeup to business to consumer companies, so the kind that you see in the store. They're interested in looking at what is their customer segmentation, so who buys from them, who are their customers from business to business, and they want to find out what if they wanted to brand their own makeup and make their own makeup company, what would the relationship be like business to consumer? So it involves doing some research on purchases, looking at their data to try to figure out how they cluster together, and trying to figure out like what is the market around these cosmetics and do they have a business case to do business to consumer instead of just business to business. Vanatech, the next project is a IoT company. They have a whole bunch of health sensors and they're interested in looking at that data to figure out what they can do with it, building dashboards and so on. The next one is called Zip Art Gallery. And the interesting thing is that they're building an ATS system in Python. So they have an applicant tracking system that people send in resumes. The system looks at the resumes, tries to parse them, does some data scraping, etc. They're very interested in people writing unit testing in Python to make sure that the code is valid and actually works. So if you're interested in unit testing and you want to work on a complicated Python system, that's the project for you. The next one is called RAH 2050. This is a project in Nova Scotia. They are mapping and they have information on every lake property in the entire province, and they're building a huge database. So this comes down to taking data entry, building that data into GIS maps, trying to figure out which are the pieces, and then working on figuring things out with that data, looking at different pieces, building outreach material, and so on. The next project is with the Government of Canada. It's the Standards Council of Canada. The Standards Council is what makes up the rules, the standards rules around everything you could think of, whether it's electricity or cars or houses. There's a whole bunch of different rules, building codes, electrical codes, etc. They make them up. Now, they have an interesting question. People across Canada volunteer in different ways. What is the economic value of volunteering? So, for example, Daniel volunteers. Normally, he would get paid $100 an hour. Every hour of his time is worth a certain amount. But how do we work that out or quantify it across the entire economy for Canada to come up with some kind of formula that shows us? Now, they have many different ways to quantify soft skills, and they want to work with us to try to figure out, is there a way to figure out how much volunteering is worth across the country? This could lead to really fantastic opportunities with the government. So, highly recommend it. The next one is called Truth or Error Blockchain Protocol. This is a Web3 blockchain program. We've worked with them multiple times, and they're interested in putting together a proposal on building an app or other pieces that involve IoT, blockchain, etc. The next one we have is called Promly. Promly is an app to prevent teen suicide, and they have a whole program that they have some very famous celebrity backers who work on this, and they have like a huge concert that they do in the summer for teens, and they're building this app. They have a lot of data from the app, but they don't really know what to do with it. So they want to do some data mining, data cleaning, and find out what's going on with this app, what information is coming out of it, how can they use it. The next one we have is called QuickFacts. QuickFacts is a company that they specialize in databases, but they have a huge amount of data themselves about their own company and users that they don't really understand. So they want to work with SQL to figure out what's going on and how to put those pieces together. The next one we have is called Canadian Animal Health Institute. In this project, they have a huge amount of information about drugs for animals. Drugs for animals are usually the same drugs as drugs for people, and the regulatory schemes about which drug is allowed and which one's not, and which ones are for people and which ones are for animals is incredibly complicated. They literally track millions of pieces of information about what drugs are good or not good, or are able to be imported or not imported. Every drug has a number that they track it by, and this entire organization runs everything on Excel, which you could probably tell is a terrible idea. So they need your help to take their millions of lines of data and turn it into something that's better. It could be a solution as simple as teaching them how to use VLOOKUP. It could be taking their data and putting it into SQL. It could be building a dashboard in Power BI or anything else, right? It's really up to you to figure out. But basically, they need help because they have too much data sitting in Excel and it just doesn't make sense what they're doing. Next, we have a project with the library at Cambrian. The library at Cambrian is interested in two questions. Number one, building up resources at the college. And number two, figuring out who's using which resources, what makes sense to invest money into, and what doesn't. The other big project that they want to work on is building a library database of demographic information across Canada. This is always asked for in the business programs. In other words, who lives in which places, what are their ages, where do we get data from? So building that part out and really understanding how the library at Cambrian is used. Now, I signed up this project with the library because I have a good relationship with the librarian, but then they got a message a couple days ago from Humber saying, we want to do the project too. So you may have competition on this project, just warning you. The next one is called HIP Lives. This is an organization that is trying to build a financial spreadsheet and a business plan. It's basically like a yoga studio, and they're interested in putting together financial proposals and a pitch deck for their organization. The next one is called Personal Banker. Personal Banker is an organization that does, private business investing and banking. They have a ton of data, and they want to be able to understand how it works and all the different pieces that go into it. And we'll talk more about that in just one second. The next one is Human Resources Professionals Association, HRPA. In this organization, these are the people who license people that work in HR, and they're interested in looking into insights about their members and students who are now in college who are going to be getting this designation in the future. They want to find out about the size of each group, about churn, about all the different pieces, and essentially they want a dashboard to be built. I think it's a great idea to work on a project that is full of HR people who'll be working in companies and then ultimately hiring people. It kind of makes sense to be their best buddies, but I'll leave that up to you. The next one we have is called Future Moose. It's a DeFi or a decentralized finance platform, and they're interested in setting up a insert cryptocurrency Web3 blah 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 words here. They're interested in setting up a site that essentially they're going to be building a job portal like Indeed or LinkedIn or whatever, and they basically want to find out who are developers and companies that are interested in hiring them in this space in cryptocurrency as well as decentralized finance. Again, probably good people to know. So they want to build a website essentially to be a job market. We also have Canadian Mental Health Association, where they develop an incident reporting management. We have this one, I think we already talked about it. That was from before. Serenity Plus is building a website. So there's a large project that many students in the college volunteer for to build articles about mental health and other pieces. And basically, Karen, you need to discuss that with the client. Normally, it's a tool of your preference, but I would talk to them to find out what the story is. You need to find out. So Serenity Plus has a ton of data. They want to build that into a website, not on WordPress. So they want to build an actual website with a database and so on. And the last one is called Phytotechnologies. This is a wildfire risk assessment score for US homeowners. We've had many students in crime analytics work on projects like this with other industries and with fire. And basically, they're interested in finding out where are fires most likely to happen, what's the economic costs, and looking at their data to try to figure out what is the damage caused by fires. And there's a ton of resources that go into this. We've worked on many similar projects, and many of the graduates who have worked on these projects now work at police agencies looking at arson. So it seems to make sense that that would be a good project for crime analytics. But again, any student in any program is free to work on anything. So I just told you a whole bunch of different pieces, but I'm going to send you the full project descriptions with everything that they've told us. And of course, we've met with them as well. So you're able to look through them. What does categories mean? Oh, categories is nothing. That's just the description. It says like, data analysis, dashboards, whatever, things like that. Okay, so the next question is, what technology does the client use? What should you pick, etc.? You need to talk to them. Do they already have a license for Excel? Maybe that makes sense. Could they use Power BI? That makes sense. Are they on a Mac or a PC? Macs have totally different versions of Excel than PCs do. So if your solution relies on the PC version of Excel, but you're using a Mac version, it doesn't work. Are they using something else? Like, do they want Flask or Django? Do they want Power BI or Tableau or something? You need to figure out, are they using, what database version are they using, or something else? So really it's about talking to the client to figure out what they want, meet them where they are, and try to figure out how to move the project forward. Does that make sense? I was a lot of talking. A lot of talking. My face is actually hurting from talking for 45 minutes straight. Any questions from you about anything? How does it work?
You almost talk as if you pretend as if you don't like talking so much.
That's true. That's a good point. Yes. I've given this speech multiple times, so it all works out okay. So the idea is that we want you to pick a project that you're excited about, that you're interested in. Narinder, what do you say?
What if we end up getting a project that we do not like to work on?
Then you are stuck with it, and you will do the best job that you can do.
Which is the same as reality usually.
Right. Yeah. George wants to know, will there be responsibilities mentioned in the dossier? I don't know. What do you mean by responsibilities? Your job is to manage the project and make your boss happy. Anything else is up to you. Your responsibilities include literally everything until the client is satisfied, in which case you graduate. We never talk to you again. That's not true. You can email me as long as the rest of your life you can email me. Wani, what do you say?
Once we receive the list and all the details, when are we gonna decide like which one we want, and then we're gonna email the coordinator like what?
So we're gonna send you the video of this as well as all of the projects today. You'll have a chance to look through them. We're going to send out another form in about 2 weeks that's going to have the voting form as well as all the other pieces, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Sir Hobby, usually it starts in the second week of the semester where you're doing the capstone. So for example, if you're doing the May-June, it's the second week of May until the end of June. How will the project be evaluated? So there are a number of criteria. We're not really going to get into it because I actually just applied to change the evaluation of the course this morning. So it might be slightly different when you take it. But generally speaking, we keep track of the hours that everybody works every day. So your expectation is to work 35 hours a week and hand in a weekly log. There's a weekly homework in the course, which is really small, like half a page. And it's basically about keeping the project on track, filling out a logic model, filling out a Gantt chart, or something else. And then feedback from your client. That's usually the most important piece. Galkoshe says, could you please display some light on part-time work? You got to talk to International, but this is a normal course, so you're still able to work 20 hours a week. But again, talk to International to be sure. Ryan says, if the client requires us only to use software or solution that we're not familiar with, what can we do? Well, there are a million training courses on Tableau. In fact, we've all given them to you. You've been signed up for Data Camp Tableau. Take the course, learn how to do it, you're fine. And you should know that the students in our program that learn Power BI were able to get jobs in Tableau and figure it out without ever having actually taken a course on it. So I'm 100% positive you have the skill set to do it. Sir Habi, you do have a small assignment every week. Honestly, it takes less than 20 minutes. Adi says, Fatima says, what happens after the 7-week capstone? Good question. You graduate. You get your diploma. You move on with the rest of your life. Daniel, what do you say?
So I'm in the January intake, right? So my co-op starts in September.
Right.
So students from my intake are also supposed to make the choices now, or are we supposed to wait till our second semester starts?
We're going to send you an email in August in your case with all the choices for that semester. They're going to be different projects in that semester. Every semester has different projects. Some of them might be the same because we work with some companies over and over again. Some of them might be different. And we're going to talk about them then. So right now for September, October, November, December, and January, February, they're almost all full already. So all of those programs already have ones. Jason and I are meeting with them, and we're scheduling projects for a year from now. Our courses normally get filled 4 to 6 months in advance. So all the ones I showed you today, over the last 6 months, we've met with them, and they wanted to work with us during May and June. So there are projects already lined up, and we're going to go through the same process. The only thing I don't know about, and we'll see how it goes now, if students from other programs will be joining us in future Capstone projects. But as far as our program goes, you'll for sure be doing a capstone with choices, and I'll send you a form to vote on in August. The form that I'm going to send out in a couple weeks for this group is going to be everybody currently in second semester in all the analytics programs and in Nathan's programs. Brett, good question. So Brett wants to know, is there a chance that some of the projects on the list will be taken off or more added by the time we vote? It is theoretically possible more could be added. It's possible. If there is, we'll let you know. We probably won't take them off. But Jason and I are, just trying to think of the most diplomatic way to put this. We are extremely serious about success in the projects, both from your side as well as the clients. If something bad happens, like a client says to you, for example, Daniel, I don't like your face. Send me your resume. I'll decide if I want you. We cancel the client and we will never work with them again. In fact, we've even got clients kicked off of the platform because they don't work with the students. When a client signs up, they know that they are committing to work with you. And I'm going to send you the form that we send to clients. You're paying to be here. They're getting work from you. They need to show up and explain to you exactly what to do and work agile and work with you to accomplish the project. I expect you to show up at meetings, work with the client, and make amazing things happen. That's your job. I can't fire you from the course, but you can get fired immediately after when you start working in a job if you don't do your job. That's why it's super important to put in best effort. The only thing Jason and I care about is effort. If you make an effort in the program, the project is going to end up amazing, no matter what the outcomes are. That's not the important thing. The important thing is putting in the work to make the project succeed. And the clients will be happy if they know what's happening. And we have a ton of stuff on project management as we go along in the course to make sure that the projects stay on track, you know what to do, and everybody's happy. That's really our goal. Red, I have no idea. The college hasn't decided yet. I would check in with the IRCC. As of right this second, no, but who knows? I don't know. Okay, any other questions, comments, thoughts? You know exactly what's going on. We're going to send you the voting form in a couple weeks. Pick the projects you want, pick the people you want to work with. We're going to talk about some kind of system. I think one of the, for the March intake, do we pick the projects we want now or when a capstones are about to start? Bridget, if you're starting in March, that means that you're going to be doing November, December, I believe. And we already have projects lined up for it. Jason and I have been meeting them this week, but we're going to meet with you before November. So we're going to send you the form in October and you could vote on them then. Wanyi, what do you say? Okay, we'll get back to you. Now, this is an extremely important point from Lakshmi. Lakshmi says, is there a possibility of extension of the capstone beyond 7 weeks? Absolutely not. When you finish, you graduate. You are done. The project is over. And we stress over and over again, you got to let the client know that the project's ending, exactly what the dates are. And they know that if they don't hand us in the final report and the midterm report, somebody's going to be very upset. So yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to add into that because I had made a comment in the chat as well. But so your capstone ends after 7 weeks. Your capstone is going to be done. You're going to graduate, but there is capacity and potential when you're working with the client to build in continuity for another capstone down the line for another group. So it doesn't mean that you extend your work beyond the 7 weeks, but if this is a bigger project that maybe then involves another capstone in September, October, another capstone in January, then you build that continuity in for the connection so the next group knows what you've done, then you can pick up and then move on from there. So again, as Sydney mentioned, your capstone is done after that 7-week period. You graduate, you're finished. But with some projects, there may be the potential for continuity, but just with additional groups and additional capstones down the line.
Many students have been hired by the company, and when you graduate, they can hire you if they want. That's fine. We support that, but you don't have to work for them anymore. You're done, right? The project's over. And if they want to hire you, then great. That's great. Okay. Awesome. So Vishal says, we decide to go with one of these projects, we're working with an actual client. That is right. You actually work with a regular client. You meet with them on a regular basis, find out what the project is. As the project adapts or changes, work with them. and ultimately make them happy. They're the ones that sign off on the project.
So let me put it in this facility. So if, for example, I'm working with client, that means they will be having the developers, or it's just me who would be working alone.
What do you mean?
I mean, if I'm, for example, going with one of the projects, right? And I'm working with the client. So the client will have their own developers as well, like programmers and stuff, or it's just me who is gonna work.
Depends on the project. Some do, some don't. Depends what you're doing.
Right. All right. Okay. That is what I wanted to confirm. All right.
It depends. I mean, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
Oladapo, there shouldn't be. Like I said, Jason and I have met with all the clients first, and we tried to make sure that's appropriate. I think that is an extreme case, and if there is a problem like that, we expect you to tell us about it immediately, and we'll get involved. Everybody has the right to work in a safe, happy environment, be productive, and get stuff done. If there are any problems, for example, that the client is problematic, we'll get involved immediately. We want to make sure that you have a good experience in the project, just like we want to make sure the clients have a good experience too. So, we've had obviously many international students in the program. We haven't had problems before. And, we have had problems with clients who disappear or students who disappear. That is a problem. But under normal circumstances, we want it to be successful. That's why we're doing this, right? We want you to work with an actual job that reflects real working conditions. And hopefully that is what the project gives you, right? It gives you an experience in industry that you could leverage. We expect that every partner is going to give you a good review on LinkedIn, and everything will work out fantastic if they want. Now, I do want to talk about one other thing that we didn't address before. Some of the projects, especially the ones that are for, let's say, like a bank or an insurance company or some other companies, deal with confidential information, and they will require students to have an NDA with the company, which means that if you have an NDA with a company, from the program perspective, we have no idea what your project is about. We don't see the data from your project. It's a secret between you and the company, which can put in some logistical challenges when you're doing your reporting and talking about what you're doing. But we've worked in this situation many times before, and it's expected. We know that it's going to happen. Again, we're getting feedback on your performance through your client. So it's really important that you're meeting with your client on a regular basis. And we check in with the clients as well. That's where we get the feedback from if you're doing your job, right? So it is possible to have an NDA between you and the company. It's also very important to know that if you have an NDA, you're limited to what you could talk about. So if you go on LinkedIn and you start putting stuff about your project, they might get upset. So it's important to check with your client to find out exactly what they want you to talk about with the project and how you could use this to promote your career. Ultimately, there's one commonality from everything we've talked about in the past hour. It all comes down to communication. Talk to the client, talk to the people you want to work with, try to make all those pieces work together, and hopefully we're going to have an amazing semester. I'm really excited about leveraging new skills into the program. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do really well, but there's many things that we just don't have the capacity to do. And by bringing in students who are really good at planning and really good at developing different pieces that we can't do, it's really going to extend what we're able to do in the projects. And we're excited to work with you. So whether you're doing your capstone project in May, June, or whether you're doing it in September or November or January, I think the projects are going to be pretty amazing and hopefully really, really helpful to your career. Jason, you want to wrap it up? He says no.
No, I don't have anything else to add. I think that covered it.
Like Jason and Wayne Gretzky say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And this is a really good opportunity, right? It's a really good opportunity to work with a client and make it happen for real and show them the things that you know how to do, right? I think the biggest problem when you apply for a job, like after you're done school, is that you don't meet with the person, you don't talk to them, you just send them a resume, and if they want, maybe they'll give you a call. But here you're actually working with a real person who gets to know you and sees the amazing work that you can do. And if they don't want to hire you, probably know somebody else in the industry who does want to hire you. That's the whole point, right? Like leveraging your experience into something that will grow capacity. And it really is a really valuable opportunity. Students have really used this opportunity to leverage into other things. All right. Thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions, please email us, which is either Jason, Sydney, or Nathan. And we're happy to help you. We'll send out a voting form for this upcoming project in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to send you the zip file of all the projects today. Again, please don't steal other people's projects. You could read through everything, but we ask that you do not contact the clients until you actually get assigned to a project at the end of the voting process to keep it fair for everybody. And that's it. I hope you have an amazing day. It was really nice to meet all of you. It's nice to see you. It's kind of unexpected. Next week, there's no classes. It's reading week. Take a week off. Go for a walk. Don't do any homework. I'm sure you don't have anything to do. It's all fine. I'll see you later.
And for my students, please join my Zoom.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Great to see you guys. Bye bye.